Prepare yourself for a chilling journey into the unknown on Stories Acil. In this gripping tale, a seemingly innocent sleepover takes a sinister turn when a mysterious board game unleashes forces beyond comprehension. As fear tightens its grip and the supernatural encroaches, you'll be hooked from the first eerie encounter to the heart-pounding conclusion. Join us as we unravel a story that will leave you questioning the boundaries of reality. Hit that subscribe button, like this video for more bone-chilling narratives, share your thoughts in the comments, and brace yourself for a ride into terror unlike any other.
The room smelled of cheap wine and perfume as Nikita and I sprawled out on my bed. Our parents were away for the weekend, and we were determined to make the most of our freedom.
Nick, maybe we shouldn't drink too much. Remember what happened last time?
Relax, Charlize. Drunk decisions are the best decisions.
Nikita, with her dark curls and mischievous eyes, had always been the instigator of our wild adventures. We giggled and poured another glass, the alcohol quickly loosening our tongues. Somewhere between our third and fourth drink, Nikita's phone buzzed with a notification. She glanced at it and smirked.
Hey, isn't this that creepy guy from your gym?
My stomach tightened at the mention of his name. Rory had always given me the creeps. His intense eyes seemed to follow me everywhere at the gym, and his overbearing attempts to talk to me had become more than uncomfortable. S1, Rory?
Let's have some fun with him. How about a little prank? S1. Yeah, he's weird. I think he's stalking me. He always shows up wherever I am.
I hesitated. The wine was making me braver, but I knew Rory wasn't someone to mess with. Still, Nikita's infectious grin made me nod reluctantly. The wine was making us drowsy, and we were about to call it a night when there was a loud knock at the door. My heart skipped a beat. I stumbled to the door, peering through the peephole.
It's Rory, he's here.
I took a deep breath, trying to steady my shaking hands. S2. Don't open it. Just tell him to leave.
Rory, go away.
Rory had broken a side window. Rory lunged through the broken window, cutting himself in the shards, but seemingly unfazed by the blood streaming down his arms. Charlize. We sprinted through the house, the sound of Rory's heavy breathing close behind. He was high on something, his movements erratic, but relentless. Charlize. We made it to the kitchen when he caught up, grabbing a knife from the counter. The next few minutes were a blur of chaos and terror. Charlize's inner voice. Rory swung the knife, slicing through the air. He went after Nikita first. She screamed as he slashed at her, leaving deep bruises and cuts. Charlize, leave her alone, you psycho! I grabbed a frying pan, swinging it at him with all my might. Charlize's inner voice. It connected with his head and he stumbled back, dazed. But it only seemed to make him angrier. Charlize. He lunged at me, and I felt a sharp pain in my leg as the knife found its mark. I collapsed, the world spinning around me. Charlize's inner voice. Nikita tried to pull me up, but Rory was on us again, his eyes wild with rage, and something dark. Charlize, who is we? Who are you talking to? Jeez, are you on drugs? Rory's eyes were wild, his pupils dilated with a mix of rage and whatever drug he was on. He swung the knife again, this time slicing through the air inches from my face. Charlize's inner voice. Nikita got up to grab his arm and he backhanded her, sending her sprawling across the kitchen floor. The sound of her head hitting the tiles echoed in the small space, and my heart sank. Charlize's inner voice. I crawled towards her, my injured leg dragging behind me, but Rory was faster. Charlize? That is when I realized that my leg was broken. He grabbed a fistful of my hair, yanking me back with a force that made my scalp burn. Charlize. I screamed, hitting out blindly, my elbow connecting with his shin. He grunted but didn't let go, instead pulling me closer, the knife now pressed against my throat. She thinks she's so smart, do you?
I opened my eyes to see the kitchen door splintered under a powerful kick, light flooding the room as several figures stormed in. The police.
Drop the knife. Drop it now.
They moved with precision, guns drawn, shouting commands. The officers tackled him to the ground, subduing him with swift, practiced movements, while Rory kept crying over the burns he had suffered on his face. Nikita, are you okay? Her clothes were torn, and bruises were already forming on her arms and neck. An officer knelt beside us, his voice calm. Paramedics arrived quickly, and I cried rivers as they started tending to me. The nightmare was over, but the scars it left would haunt me for life. S1. You're safe now. We've got him. Let's get you both some medical attention. I had always been the adventurous type, so when my friends Emma and Claire suggested a sleepover at my place with a twist, I couldn't say no. Emma had brought some kind of weird board game off eBay, supposedly a satanic game that promised to summon spirits. It sounded ridiculous, but we were up for some fun. We set up in my living room. The game board was old and worn, with strange symbols etched into its surface. A small crystal sat in the center, which glowed under the light. Place your fingers on the crystal and chant the words. This is so dumb. Despite her words, we followed the instructions. The chant felt strange in my tongue, like speaking a language that wasn't meant for human lips. Okay, here we go, let's see some ghosts. Emma was recording everything on her phone. For a while, nothing happened. We laughed and joked, thinking the whole thing was a waste of time. Then the lights went out all of a sudden. Okay, who turned off the lights? This isn't funny anymore. Narrator, no one answered. I heard the crystal hit the floor with a soft thud, and then a loud crash as something shattered. My heart raced as I fumbled for my phone, using its flashlight to see. The glass coffee table was in pieces, the crystal nowhere to be seen. We tried to laugh it off, but the atmosphere had changed. The air felt heavier, almost suffocating. Suddenly, the hanging light above us began to sway while turning on and off. S5, let's just stop. Guys, this is getting weird. Let's just call it a night. We agreed, deciding to pack up and forget about the whole thing. As we stood to leave, the cabinet doors in the kitchen swung open with a bang. Pots and pans fluted. The door opened to the floor, the noise echoing in the silent house. We bolted for the front door, but as we reached it, we froze. S5, run! Standing there was our childhood friend Sophie. She looked just as she had the last time we saw her, except Sophie had died in a car crash 3 years ago. Sophie, is that you? Her eyes were empty, devoid of the light and life they once held. She didn't speak, just stood there staring at us. My heart pounded in my chest as I backed away slowly. This can't be real, this isn't happening. The temperature dropped suddenly, our breath visible in the cold air. Sophie stepped forward, and we heard a low growl. Not from her, but from somewhere deeper in the house. Panic surged through me as the lights flickered back on, casting everything in a sickly yellow glow. S4, yes. We have to get out of here. We ran towards the back door, but it slammed shut in our faces. The growling grew louder, more menacing. I suddenly felt something brush past me. Claire screamed, clutching her arm where deep, bloody scratches appeared out of nowhere. We huddled together, looking for a way out. The windows were all sealed shut, the air thick with the smell of sulfur. The growling continued. Julia, do something, please. Claire's screams suddenly pierced the air, the sound of pure terror. I grabbed her arm, trying to pull her away from the invisible claws that seemed to be attacking her, tearing through her clothes and slashing against her skin. Blood seeped through her fingers as she clutched at her wounds. We need to get out of here, now. The growling grew louder, echoing off the walls, a sound that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. And that is when I felt something cold and slimy brush against my leg, and I jumped back with a gasp. Stay together, we need to find another way out. We stumbled through the darkened house, the walls creaking and groaning as if the house itself were alive and angry. The temperature continued to drop, our breaths coming out in frostbite. As we passed the staircase, we heard a low, mocking laugh. Sophie stood at the top, her eyes glowing with an unnatural light. Her mouth twisted into a cruel smile that sent shivers down my spine. Her laughter grew louder, more maniacal. The shadows around her seemed to dance. The basement! There's a window we can climb out of. We rushed down the stairs as Sophie's ghost chased us. The growling in the air stopped us in our tracks. The darkness enveloped us, suffocating our screams.
The living room was in chaos. Furniture was overturned, and the air was thick with a sulfuric stench.
I spotted the crystal, its dark surface reflecting the chaos around it. Summoning all my courage, I grabbed it, feeling a jolt of icy pain shoot through my arm. I ran with it to the front door.
Sophie appeared again, her face twisted in anger. The growling reached a fever pitch, the shadows closing in around us.
Ignoring her, I threw the crystal with all my strength.
It soared through the air and landed on the pavement outside, shattering into 1,000 pieces. The moment it broke, the growling stopped. The oppressive weight lifted and the air cleared.
Sophie's image flickered and then vanished, leaving only an eerie silence.
We stood there, breathing heavily, the realization slowly sinking in that it was over. We limped away from the house, bruised and bleeding, but alive.
I looked back at the house, its dark windows staring back like empty eyes.